Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is VooDoo Val. I'm going to be your host for this wonderful, excellent design illustration stream. This is a pretty cool segment that I'm really excited to sort of tell you folks about, let you know why it's so special. It's for a cause that is very near and dear to my heart. We're going to get into that in a second, but first, I would love to welcome everyone into the chat. Thank you all for joining us today. And I would like to welcome my dear friend, Codi Bear. Codi, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Val. Thank you so much for having me today. I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
I think so too. I think this is going to be super, super awesome. I see Shauna, Mama Shauna Parmigiana is in the chat today.
Hi, Shauna.
I any opportunity I have to call her that in person is a good day. Welcome in, Shauna. I see Sam Peter, Jotirma. Welcome in, Umacorn, Afrosia, Nourish, Ronald. It is so good to see all of you regulars in the chat, and I also see some new faces. If you are new to Adobe Live, please give us a holler. Let us know who you are. Say hi. We'd love to meet you. Yes, Squee, Val, and Codi Bear.
Indeed.
The power duo is here. But yeah, so Codi, why don't you give kind of an introduction of yourself, just in case there's any new faces in the chat who maybe are not familiar with you and your work. You are something of a Adobe Live celebrity here on the Behance.
Oh, stop.
On Behance. But just in case there's some folks in chat that don't know who you are, why don't you let us know about you, what you do, and what your favorite flavor of ice cream is.
Favorite flavor of ice cream, of course. I'm starting with that because that's the most important part.
Thank you.
It is chocolate chip cookie dough.
Okay. Yep. All right. I approve of this. You pass.
Good.
You pass.
Hey guys, my name is Codi, aka Codi Bear. I am a children's illustrator. Some of you may know me as a chat moderator for Adobe Live as well. Sometimes I pop in here and out every once in a while, but if you want to check out some of my work, I do a lot of woodland creatures, and I draw just like very cutesy children's illustration style artwork. I use a lot of deep, rich earth tones, and I typically draw in a very like flat perspective, flat crayon, flat color kind of look. And here's my character named Frederick Fox. My husband and I are actually currently writing a series with him. Some of you may know that already, but it's mainly been a secret. Don't tell anyone.
Oh yeah, just between us and you guys.
Between us.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's some examples of my work. I draw a lot of kind of like animal characters like bears and horses and just like little woodland creatures and foresty things. I really love gardening and farming, so you can see a lot of influence on that in my work as well. But yeah,
I would also like to facilitate a second shameless self-promotion here. You also have a pretty nifty show here on Adobe Live.
That's
Maybe
true.
We can let people know about that, because it's pretty great, folks.
Yeah, actually,
it's pretty great.
I can scroll back up here and show the artwork that was done on that show. So if you guys haven't heard, it was last week. Yeah, last week I was on with an artist named Stevie Ray Drawn. Some of you may have heard of her before. She actually used to be a streamer way back in the day on the Adobe Twitch channel with me and Val.
OG Adobe Stream fam.
OG, yes, indeed. Yeah, so she was my guest last week, and basically the premise of the show is we each draw this in your style illustration, and we swapped them on the stream, and we drew each other's illustration in our own style. So this is the one that I did, and this is the one that Stevie did. Ooh. And then we drew each other's. So our theme was Autumn Fairy that Stevie had picked for that stream. So if you guys want to check that out, you can head down to the video library on Behance and watch the replay. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a wonderful stream. You guys should all check it out. Also, I'm getting happy birthdays in the chat. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, it's Val's birthday, everyone. Happy birthday, Val. Woo!
Yeah,
Everyone say happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Paco's got the happy birthday. You guys are sweet. I am 427 today. Thank you all for joining me here for the middle of my 4th century. It's an honor. I know I look good for my age. Thank you. No, I'm actually 29 today. Getting close to that big 3-0. But thank you guys for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Anywho, we are going to be doing some really super cool illustrations today. We've got, this looks so awesome. I want to point out to everyone that we actually have a resource pack. Yes. If you scroll down below the chat, there is a coloring page that you folks can work on digitally, and a coloring page that you can print out on like standard computer paper in your homes if you want to color traditionally for the work that Codi is going to be working on today. And then I have put together a handful of like nature silhouettes and things, and a wildfire resources folder here for you folks, because today we are going to be designing for wildfire awareness. And this is a cause that is very near and dear to my heart. Some of you folks may know already, but I live in fire country in Northern California. I am from a family that was greatly affected by the campfire a while back. A lot of friends and family living in Paradise. I went to school in Paradise, and so this is something that really hits home because we've got some really massive wildfires going on in Northern California right now. And I'm really excited to be doing this and to have Codi here with me today, kind of spreading the word about it, because I would love to raise some awareness about the wildfires, about how you can stay safe if you are near to the fires, or if you're in a completely different place and need a little scrub up on some wildfire safety and awareness tips. In that wildfire resources pack, we also have some links to places where you can go and help by donating and donating money, donating items and things to those who are affected by the wildfires. But what I really wanted to be able to do today is offer everyone here an opportunity to use design to raise awareness for this. Because when the campfire came around a while back, I was not able to kind of reach out to the community and help financially when it came to that cause at that time. And I know a lot of people, maybe here in chat, maybe who will be watching this stream in the future, maybe really feel like they want to do their part and help out, but it's not always possible for everyone to help out financially with a donation to a cause like this. So I would love for, if you are able, take some time, design something awesome based on the beauty of the nature of Northern California with us today, and post it to social media, maybe with some of these helpful links to raise awareness. Or if you don't have the time to do that, check out some of the art that people will be doing with us today. Check out Codi Bear's art and some of the art we're going to be working on tomorrow, and retweet them to raise awareness, because I think that there's a lot of awesome ways that we can come together as a community to help folks who are in need, who are struggling, who are affected by these disasters in a way that doesn't have to be financial, so I want to offer a lot of options to everyone. And yeah, I'm super pumped. So if you folks want to design with us today, if you want to download this awesome line art and color with us, if you want to create your own pieces inspired by Northern California's beauty and nature, please do post it to Twitter or Instagram, tag us, let us retweet your work. And I think we can come together and make some really beautiful stuff for a great cause today. So why don't we dive into it? Codi, let's get going on this.
Wow, I gotta say, Val, that was beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
That was like a beautiful speech. Everyone give Val a round of applause in the chat. Like, that was beautiful. I love that. And I actually have to say too, my home state is California, although I'm not currently living in California right now. I'm originally from Orange County, California, and that area is usually affected by wildfires as well. My mom has had to evacuate before, and when I was in high school, we had to take time off of school because the air quality was so bad from fires and stuff like that. So I decided to also incorporate the OC into my illustration as well. And as you can see, I have a little melody of some sites in California. I wanted to do the sketch ahead of time so I could give you guys a coloring book page. So the coloring book page, I inked it for you guys. It's in the resource pack, as Val mentioned. So if you guys want to color along, you can print it out, or you can throw it into Photoshop and color along with us today. But we got the OC, Yosemite, and the Redwoods. So yeah, we're just going to be going through the coloring process, hanging out, and just having a good time.
Yeah, spreading some positive vibes. You know what I mean? Carol, love the spirit of this. Thank you, Val, for raising awareness for such an important cause in California and around the globe. Wishing you a very happy birthday. Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to be able to do this. I appreciate all you folks for giving Codi and I the opportunity to be able to participate in something like this. And this is just really cool. This is a very neat thing to get to do. So what is the first step in your coloring process? I see you're starting to turn the line art down on the lower opacity.
Yes. Okay. So I will back up for you guys a little second here. I just kind of got into it without even saying anything.
Listen, Codi, you gotta, man.
I'm just overzealous, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm like, okay, I gotta start coloring now. I want to color my coloring book page, you guys. So I have all of the sketch layers. I probably could just condense all these down. I'll probably just go ahead and do that. There, it's all just one layer now. And I am going to just go ahead and lower the opacity. I usually color over top of my sketch, but I just lower the opacity so it's easier to see the color over top. And so now I have a new group. I don't name my layers. I'm so sorry, everyone. However, I do usually work with groups, and I also color code my groups. So I have these little California poppies here on the bottom. And I'm going to be starting with them, I think. I don't really have a rhyme or reason as to what I start with. It's just kind of a gut feeling and just kind of pick somewhere.
When it comes to coloring, I Marie Kondo it. And by that, I mean, I gravitate to whichever element in the painting sparks joy in the moment.
Exactly. Pretty much.
That's how it works.
So here's my color palette that I typically work with. All of the illustrations on my Instagram that you see have pretty much been made with this color palette in more recent time. I start with these colors. Sometimes I'll edit the hue and saturation just a bit as I work. Like I'll probably lighten this color up and maybe saturate it a little bit more for those poppies to make them pop. But yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and start coloring. The brush that I'm using is by Kyle T. Webster. It's called Conte Crayon.
That was such a satisfying scribble. I just, ooh.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh yeah. It just feels like you're like a little kid. Like, feel free, you guys. That's another reason kind of why I wanted to do a coloring book page, because I pretty much color my artwork like I'm doing a color book page. I literally use crayons. Like grab some Crayola crayons, you guys, and just have some fun scribbling outside of the lines.
Yeah, you literally can download the file because you have the PNG because people can open it up in whatever app they want, but you also made one that is standard computer paper size. So if you've got paper and a printer, you can literally print this out and color it like a coloring book if you want to. And I think that's great.
Yeah. So if you guys wanted to use this brush, it is by Kyle Webster. You can find it in his brush pack called the Mega Pack. And if to download his brushes, if you guys are unaware, you can just open your brush menu and go to the gear icon and then go down to get more brushes, and it will open up your browser. So you can download his brushes, and all of his packs are free if you have a CC sub. So yeah, totally worth it. And then this brush that I used, I actually did this sketch on Adobe Fresco. And that was just done with the default pencil brush. I love the default pencil on Fresco. It is so good.
It's pretty great. There's a handful of really great brushes in Fresco that are my favorite, but the one that you open Fresco and it's just on, that one is pretty satisfying. It's pretty great. Yeah. So I'm really pumped about these poppies. I don't know that I know that there's going to be some folks in chat who've probably never seen like the California poppy, but it is my favorite color of orange and brown sometimes. And they are absolutely gorgeous. They're such beautiful plants. And I believe, I don't think we have any quails in here, but quails are also one of my favorite birds. And that is our state bird. They are, for those of you who do not know what a quail is, quails are they're basically pigeons with hairdos. That's like, they're like little teeny tiny bird, and they have the little, the little feather that just hangs over like Fonzie. And they're really cool. They're
Quails
super
are
cool.
adorable, and then their little babies follow them in a row behind them.
Oh my gosh. They follow around like ducklings. And fun fact, when I was little, we had a quail infestation under our house.
No way.
And by that, I mean like tons of quails. We're like, you know what? This is a great place to just start our life. We're going to start our life, and we're going to have as many adorable baby quails as possible. And they're all going to live under this house. So at any given time, there's like 40 quails just chilling, and they're all very small. Yes, California is home to a lot of just really, really awesome plants and animals. The flora and fauna here is pretty fabulous. And I think, honestly, and I've talked about this before, but I think a common misconception about California in general is if you're not from here, or if you're not from the US at all, especially, I think people see California in movies and they're like, surfers and longboarders and beach babes and everything. And I'm like, I lived in California where I got snowed in once a year, and we couldn't go, I couldn't go to my college campus because there were just mountain lions.
Oh my goodness.
Schools closed either because we're snowed out of the school, or the mountain lions are chilling in the quad and no one can be there right now.
That's so crazy.
It's definitely a place with like so many different biomes and places that look so different. So it is a wonderful place. Did you name any? I called them all Quail Man, of course. Shout out to my Doug fans in the chat.
Yes.
Where you at?
Oh my goodness. My brother and I loved Doug when we were kids. He actually dressed up as Doug for Halloween one year.
It's honestly one of the easiest and best Halloween costumes you can do. Right up there with Shaun from Shaun of the Dead. They're just like really excellent costumes that can be done. Literally drive to any season or type of geography if you wanted to. Yes, exactly, Paco. If you're in California and you decide you want to be in winter, you can just drive a few hours and be in winter. You can drive a few hours and be in beach weather. You can drive a few hours and be in ocean weather. It's pretty crazy. Paco says, I agree. I'm a sucker for Sierras and NorCal, especially the redwoods and Eel River. I think some of my favorite places, in California are the redwoods. Are really amazing. And I love specifically that you have the redwood that has the hole carved through it. Yeah. Because I have been to that tree. There is a tree in the redwood forest that a lot of people have like carved their initials on. And it's basically, I'm pretty sure it's like large enough you could like drive a small vehicle through it. Like you can just like go straight. It's pretty amazing. And I also really love, if everyone has ever heard of the Emerald Pools, above Nevada City, which is in like the Grass Valley area of Northern California, there's a place called the Emerald Pools that you can hike to. And it's these pools of water scattered throughout the mountains that just kind of waterfall and empty into each other all the way down the mountain. Wow. And the water does not run fast at all. In fact, it is running, but it mostly looks like still water. Whoa. And they are emerald in color because the pools of water, like these little catch-all bowls of water staggered down the mountain, are incredibly deep. They're like, 30 to 50 feet deep, just like these huge pools. And the water is so crystal clear that you can see down to the bottom of it as if it's only a foot deep.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yes. And the rocks at the bottom are covered in a very like thin layer of green algae. And so the entire pool looks green, and you can look down into it and you can see the fish and stuff swimming around. And it's like, I'm talking like, it's almost weird, uncanny, like you're in a video game where you look down and it doesn't even look like there's a surface to the water, kind of. Yeah. It is a magical place. It is absolutely beautiful. And there's a lot of hippie type folk that live up there. And you can't go anywhere around the Emerald Pools without seeing rock stacks. So there's people that go and make like little stacks of rocks and decorate them with like trinkets and things throughout the woods. And it's a magical place. It's one of my most favorite places on earth. So
that is super cool. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's a nifty place. You folks can look it up, or maybe one day when things are easier as far as travel and health safety, it might be a cool place to visit.
Yeah.
Fell in love with the Los Angeles vibe through the 90s action movies such as Terminator 2. I hate to burst your bubble, Jan, but I've never met Terminator. He does not run through the streets in California. I think that would be super cool. As long as I'm a main character in the movie, like exactly. not cool for anybody else, but people who have a major role, but it would still be cool. Hippie type folks. Yeah. Hey, you know what? There's some really interesting places in Northern California. When I say hippie type folks, I don't mean that. I hope nobody took that as like a derogatory thing. I lived in a lot of places in Northern California where there are very, natural, holistic type communities of people in the wilderness and in town and stuff, and they're some of my favorite people ever. And I think that those kinds of people have a tendency to be like, you know what? I'm gonna wake up this morning. I'm just gonna go decorate the forest. Why not?
Yeah,
let's just do it. I'm like, yes, I'm living for this right now.
Yeah,
do it.
Totally. They just own it.
Yeah,
they're just like, oh yeah, totally.
I'm just gonna make the world pretty today. Let's do it. All right, let's see. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. If I had a nickel for every time I had to fight off a mountain lion on the way to math class. I know, Sam. It is difficult. It is difficult. Oh, man. Lived in California my whole life, and I've never been to one beach. There's so much to California than just the beach. This is from Panda. Yes, this is true. There's a lot more than just the beach. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. I'm loving how these poppies are coming together. And I would love to know how many of you folks are going to be working on the coloring page today, and how many folks maybe have an idea for a project that they might work on to spread some positive awareness. Today. We're going to have over the course of today and tomorrow, we're going to have a lot of different art styles coming in. So I am going to be with Codi today, but tomorrow I'm going to be joined by the one and only Paco. I'm pretty excited. So you're gonna have a little bit of photography going on, a little bit of illustration and kind of graphic type stuff going on tomorrow, which I'm very excited for. So hopefully, like inspire some folks and get the creative juices flowing a little bit for what is possible. If you are not able to design, like I said earlier, this is also just a great opportunity to make some friends in chat, check on what other people are doing who are able to stop and do some design and support each other in the support of the cause by retweeting and reposting for other people. I like I said before, this was kind of a cool thing to be able to do, because I know that when things like this happen, it's everybody wants to help. People want to kind of do their part. But like me, recently, or not recently, but a little while ago, when some of the fires really came through my neck of the woods, it was very difficult because I felt like I wanted to help, and I was not able to contribute financially to donate. And I just, I wanted to do something, but it's hard to kind of figure out what you might do. And so this is kind of a cool opportunity just to be able to put the word out there in a positive way, because in the midst of the pandemic, times are tough for people and not everyone can do that.
Sure.
But you can design something and post with the links that maybe somebody who's able to offer that kind of support might see and decide to do. You can retweet somebody else's work who has created something and posted with helpful links to the community. And I think it also helps to kind of keep what is happening on people's minds, because people who are not in California or don't know anyone closely from California may not realize just how long some of these disasters draw on for. We see them trending online. And after a handful of weeks, I think sometimes it gets lost in the sea of what's going on. So this is a great way also to keep it on their minds, to just keep support coming in for those who are affected. And I also have in that resource pack, I have wildfire safety tips. So if you are in an area that does see wildfires come through, there's some wildfire safety there. If you know some people who are affected by wildfires or live in a place where they could be affected by wildfires, it's a great link to share. There's relief information for where you can find helpful resources and things to help you. There's a California page for the ca.gov in there that helps with recovery of documents and
Wow.
kind of talking about like if you've lost a vehicle in the fires, if you've lost DMV related documents that can be very hard to recover, there is a setup ready for you to kind of go and apply and get all those hard things back that can be very difficult to lose. As far as documentation, I also put in the CAL FIRE Twitter, because if you are looking for an update to keep track of what's going on with the various wildfires that are happening in California at the moment, CAL FIRE does a really excellent job of updating the public on what is happening. They are making posts every single day, letting you know where each and every fire is, the percentage of containment, the information you need to know about evacuation and which places are maybe near to being evacuated and which places are no longer under the evacuation notice. And about every week or so, they actually post a full video detailing all of the updates, which is really, really great. They're really on top of things when it comes to updates. So that's a great resource just to kind of stay in the loop and in the know about what is going on. So I highly recommend that. Let me look through the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything.
That's so amazing that you put this together, Val. I'll definitely check out those resource links, especially and send them to my family because I have a lot of family in California and my mom is in California too. So I'm sure they would be able to benefit from that too.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I just, I think that it's a really great thing to look into because living in California, sometimes, I mean, it's the fire state, we have our troubles and stuff, but I think that sometimes everybody can benefit from a little scrubbing up when it comes to safety and awareness. And then also I think it's great for people who maybe live far and away to kind of be aware of what happens, because when you don't live here, it's kind of hard to understand the scope of what occurs regularly. So it's kind of a good learning experience as well.
Sure.
And I really, one of the things that I really wanted to make sure people realize too is that when it comes to the fires, people are not the only ones who are affected. There's a lot of displaced wildlife and animals who have also maybe lost their homes or whose homes are threatened. So another great thing to remember is if you live near where there is a wildfire, it is always a good rule of thumb to bring your pets inside. Because there's going to be a lot of wild animals coming through who don't want to be there. They're pretty scared. They're displaced. Excuse me, just like a lot of folks. They may be coming through your yard or coming through residential areas they don't necessarily like to travel through. So keep an eye on your pets, bring them inside, and put buckets of water out. Because we can also do our part to kind of help support the wildlife in our areas, to keep them hydrated. If they need to stop and take a break and drink some water on their travels, it's always great just to have that available for them. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that we can do that, doesn't necessarily cost financially, that we can do to support the animals and the creatures and the people around us in this time.
Absolutely.
All right. It looks like love the transitional summer to autumn vibes of the color palette. Yes, I'm loving it too. So maybe we can talk about color palette and stuff because I know you have a very particular way of choosing colors and things for your pieces. So why don't we talk a little bit about that, Cody?
Yeah, so when it comes to picking colors, I don't know if I necessarily I try to explain it to the best of my ability. But so the way that I got to the color palette that I am at currently, I have always just been a huge fan of like dark, rich, deep earth tones my whole life. However, it took me still a long time to be able to get to the color palette that I'm currently using. I've actually only been using this darker palette for probably actually the last year. That's it. I started using it my last when I did my Inktober list. I kind of started like pushing myself, forcing myself in that direction because I knew that's where I wanted my colors to be. Before that, I was actually using a palette that was much brighter and more vibrant, but my eye, I felt like I was trying to get to the point of, because I knew I wasn't at a point where I wanted where my colors were at. I wanted them to be darker, but my eyes weren't completely trained in the color to be able to just get to that point. So I had to kind of like force myself, okay, this feels weird, but I want to go darker. Like, so if you could, so I kept going darker and deeper.
Nice. Yeah, I think you definitely have like a very, like it's earth tones, it's very cozy, but it is, as you say, it's very rich. You know, like it's just, I love it.
So yeah, if you guys are the way that I kind of figured out my colors, I of course started learning color theory. However, the majority of how I learned to use color, for one, it helped significantly when I started checking my values on which colors to choose where. And I can actually show you guys how I check my values really quick before I'll promise I'm not going to get on a super long tangent, but I'll get back to the color question in a second.
Honestly,
but I'll show you.
Serenade me with values and color all day, Cody.
All right, so you guys, this is how I check my values. I always say there's like so many different ways to check values, but this is how I do it. I'll usually make a layer over top of everything, and then I'll just fill it with pure black. And then I change the blending mode of the layer, not the brush, the layer, to color. And then you can, it's not letting me zoom out. There we go. And now you guys can see the painting in black and white. And now you can turn it off, on and off whenever you like. So that's just my really super fast, easy way to check values. But going back to the color question, if you guys are struggling to pick colors, or maybe you're at a place, maybe you're like early on in your art journey and you're like, well, I don't even know what colors I like. I don't even know what colors I even want in my work. I would definitely suggest looking at other aspects of your life. Like what are the things that, like, if you're going to buy something at a store, what color do you normally pick? Like, because usually something will come in a bunch of different colors, right? Like what color would you pick if you were getting a notebook, Val? Like what color cover would it have?
I wonder what color VooDoo Val would choose. You know, it's a hard decision because I use so many different colors and I love so many different colors, but I'm gonna have to go with the ultra rare purple.
Of course. See? Art imitates life, you guys. So a lot of the time when you make decisions, I mean, we have color everywhere. I mean, if you think about like your dream wardrobe or your dream home decor or something, like we choose color all the time when we buy things. And so if you're leaning towards certain colors, those are probably going to be the colors that you want to use in your work. Like some artists really love pastel colors. And if you look in their closet, a lot of the time they're wearing pastel colors, you know? So check out other aspects of your life and see what colors are trending in your house.
Trending in your house. I love that. I think that's a really excellent bit of advice, because I think that we maybe put a little too much pressure on ourselves when it comes to choosing color, because we're doing a project and isn't it way scarier and much more daunting when we're choosing colors that we're going to be working with. But it's funny to me how sometimes I will struggle to choose the colors that I want for a piece. But like my room decor is like on point. So like why do I not struggle to like decorate a room or put together an outfit or something? Why do I not struggle with those things? And I can like be super fleeky when I hit the town all the times that I'm just hitting the town.
Totally. As you do.
And yeah, as I do. And struggle when I'm like trying to choose, colors for a piece. And I think maybe I will do that from now on because I don't want to toot my own horn, but your girl's stylish sometimes. I can make it happen. I can make it work when I need to. So maybe I'll just translate my my clothing choices to art and see if that helps me kind of put together a good palette. That's a great idea.
That's kind of what I did. Like I said, like I've kind of always known that I've really loved earth tones my whole life. However, I definitely did go through a phase where I would see artists online and I would be envious of their color palette. I'd be like, oh my gosh, how do you use those colors? So I'd actually, how I learned color theory is I would bring artwork into Photoshop and I would color drop colors and see how the artist used their colors. But then I would try to use those colors in my own work and it just didn't feel right. Like it never felt like me. Like it always, it just felt like I was stealing their color palette, which in a way I was. But that is how I feel like that's still a really good learning tool to definitely help you learn relative color. Just analyzing other people's artwork is really how I learned color theory. And that just comes with time and it comes with experience. And like I said, I mean, I've even just gotten to these colors. It's taken me this long. I've been doing digital art for 10 years. And I just now within the last year started using colors that I really wanted to use. And I'm still editing my color palette. Yeah, I'm still working with it too. I'm sure my colors will change eventually as my tastes get refined as I get older. And, your art's constantly changing. So yeah, just keep working at it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And honestly, I will say that that's something that I do a lot is if I see another piece of artwork where I just look at it and I'm like, it's usually like an atmosphere or a mood that really calls to me when I look at a painting where I'm just like, how did they use color to cultivate that emotion, like that vibe, that atmosphere? And so what I will do if I'm like, because I'll look at a piece sometime and I'll try to like not sample from it, but like I'll try to choose colors on my own and like eye it and like try to do it myself, and I never quite hit the mark. And so something that I do sometimes is I will grab that piece of artwork, I'll bring it into Photoshop and I'll hit it with a Gaussian blur, and then it just like makes this amalgam of colors that still have that atmosphere, that vibe, that emotion, that feeling attached to it. And then I sample a color palette from that blurred amalgam of colors. And I think that is perfectly reasonable to do. As long as you're not like taking somebody's artwork and being and like plagiarizing their work. I don't think there's anything wrong with like bringing in a piece of art, sampling the colors that they used for that, and learning how to use those colors in your piece. And I think honestly, that in a way for me, when it comes to color, sampling colors from somebody else's piece and using them in a similar way that they did, and maybe finding more pieces of reference that use the same kind of colors, and like looking at the art as reference for atmosphere, really helps me learn how to apply certain colors in tandem with each other. Because like I can take a bunch of dreary gray colors, but unless I'm kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, and unless I'm really looking at how somebody, like examining how someone has put them into effect. Yeah. Sometimes it can be hard for me to be like, oh, well, I'm going to use the gray here to give it kind of a foggy atmosphere and all that. And, I have like the basic gist of what I want to do sometimes, but really seeing how somebody else puts the colors into motion sometimes is like a really exceptional learning experience. And I think that that's a great way for people to practice.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Let me see. My wardrobe is black, but I draw in bright pinks and purples. I think that there are like, I'm sure there's more than two kinds of artists, but I'm gonna discuss and describe two kinds of artists that I see most often. There is the artist that looks exactly like their work, where you see their work and then they post a picture of themselves and you're like, oh, that makes sense. That's definitely your art. That's definitely you. And then there's the artist that could do any kind of art, honestly, but they're like the standard like jeans and a black t-shirt.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like they're like totally hot and cold, like polar opposites of each other, where it's just like either you are the human embodiment of what you create, or you spend more time creating your art than you really care about like color coordinating your outfit. And that is fine. Yeah, that is just fine.
Yeah, of course. There's of course not every single person is going to go through that experience. Like not every person looks like their art, but I feel like it's a good starting point for someone who is struggling to find the colors that they like. And even along that way, maybe that's a starting point for you, but maybe along that journey, you'll discover that you don't like wearing the same colors that you work with. But yeah.
I used to actually use like super, super bright colors. I remember when I was a kid, I was like obsessed with like using primary colors. Like I just would like cover a piece of paper in school, like edge to edge with like tons and tons of color. I wanted it to be as bright as possible. But I remember like sixth grade, that was when because I honestly, I think I've had like the same like dressing style for a very long time. I just couldn't like execute those style ideas with any impact until I was older, but I remember being in sixth grade and like, I want this fishnet shirt from Hot Topic and I'm going to wear a tank top under it and I'm going to get these combat boots and I'm going to be the coolest girl in class. Yeah. Turns out I was a large nerd, but turns out I was very strange. But like I've been kind of dressing like that for a while, but my art didn't always match that. It really didn't. Now I would say that my art is very like dark fantasy. I use a lot of black, I use a lot of purple, I use a lot of blue, a lot of orange and red in my work, and I think that that's definitely mirrored in my clothing style still. But every once in a while I whip out a weird piece where it's just like, Val, are you okay? There's a lot of pastels for you. What's going on? I'm like, you know what? I could break the mold sometimes.
Yeah, there you go.
I could be different every once in a while. I could do a holographic hot pink Hello Kitty Mandalorian helmet if I feel like it.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that one.
That was fun. And I was just like, I made this. It's the only thing in my portfolio that's pink. Here you go, world.
Look, art companies, I have variation in my portfolio. Look at all these different things that I can do.
99.9% black and purple, and here's the one Hello Kitty piece that I have. Look at the range. The breadth of work. No, I do actually, I even still like using bright colors, and it's fun to like get a little different than what I normally do. I definitely have a happy place and colors that spark joy for comfort me, for sure. And I think that I'm probably one of those, maybe I'm a mixture between the two, because I feel like, when I have some place to be, and like if I go to like Adobe HQ or whatever, like when I'm just like, I'm at work, I put the fashion moves on. I try, try to be fancy, I feel like that's when I look like my art. And then every other day I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to throw on this black t-shirt like today. And I'm just gonna wear sweatpants.
I think that's just somebody that's just somebody who has a remote job in general.
Thank you. Okay, cool.
I'm wearing leggings right now.
For all anybody knows, we could be a mermaid and a centaur.
Yeah, there you go.
There's nobody knows what's happening from like the clavicles down, honestly. And it's nobody's business. You could be wearing yoga pants or sweatpants, or I could just be one long tail from the waist down.
There you go.
People don't know these days. People don't know. I rock t-shirts and stretchy pants. That's the uniform for a happy life, I think, Stony. That's honestly.
There you go.
Hello, how do I organize my workspace in Photoshop? That's an excellent question. Do you have a particular workspace organization method Cody? Do you use like standard, or do you ever kind of maneuver things around in your Photoshop?
So this right here is actually my workspace pretty much all the time. I pretty much never move anything. I just have my HSB sliders, my swatches, because that's my color palette, and then my layers. That's pretty much all I personally really need when I'm doing my artwork. For me, I've mentioned this before. I personally like using the HSB sliders more than the gradient picker. And it also, just for me, it just kind of takes up a little less space on the menu. So I like that it's a little bit smaller. But yeah, I honestly I don't even save my workspace a lot of the time. Like if I'm going to a different computer, I'll just reset it up like this, because it takes like 2 seconds to just get rid of some of the menus that I don't need and just put up my layers, and I'm good.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I have like a very specific setup that I like to use. And if you're interested in kind of experimenting with the workspace, it's actually really easy to edit it. You can go up to window and kind of look through all the different things that are there, and choose to either hide or unhide certain things. If you see some that look interesting to you, you can open them up and see if there's anything in there that you like. If you see somebody else using a certain module in their workspace, you can always find it there if you don't see it right off the bat. And when it comes to actually moving stuff around, you can literally go around like to Cody's color tab, and you can just drag and drop it. It can be its own floating thing. You can like literally place it in that toolbar on the side, or make it layered like she just did, and move it around. You literally can put it like wherever you want, and organize it however is comfortable for you. It's very easy to kind of get in and change it up. So thank you for the little impromptu demo there, by the way.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Like Vanna White up in here.
Yes, thank you. But yeah, so it's really easy just to go through and edit it. And I think it's, when it comes to you kind of deciding what's best for you, it really depends on your process. Like what do you use? What is, things that are your go-to tools that you are constantly reaching for? Maybe effects panels that you tend to use a lot, things that you don't want to have to go up to the drop-down menus and scroll through and like look for. Sometimes there's a panel that contains everything you need, and you can just throw that out there. You can have like I said, your most used tools in the toolbar, and really create a workspace that is right for you, the same way that you would create, a workspace at your physical desk. I've got my monitors, I've got my tablet, I've got my keyboard, my mouse. I usually have my bottle of water and all that. Everything is in place so that I can sit comfortably and work. And the same is true for Photoshop. You can grab everything, put it all in place in a manner that is easy for you to cultivate a great process and feel comfortable working. Another thing that's really cool, if I can have you demo for me one more time, Cody, real quick, is if you hit F on your keyboard, you can actually go into different modes of Photoshop. So one thing that I like to do is in that mode, that third one where all of the interface, the UI is kind of gone. What I like to do is I like to really work on memorizing the hotkeys and shortcuts for my favorite tools, things that I use most often. And then I can focus on the art here in this space, and I can use hotkeys that I like, and just not be overwhelmed maybe by the vastness of the program. And something you can do when you're in this space is if you hit tab real quick, it will just pull up the taskbars and things if you need to use a panel, and then hit tab again and it will remove them. And then you can just kind of just be looking at your work.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty nifty. So it is definitely a really awesome way to design, and especially in that second and third mode of the Photoshop view, if you hold space, you can drag that file around infinitely. There's no constraint, whereas in that first Photoshop mode, unless if you're zoomed out all the way, you can't really move it around if you're looking at the whole of the canvas. If you're zoomed into your canvas, you can move it around until the edges come up or down or left or right. But in this mode, or in the second mode, you can just, hold space and drag your canvas around anywhere you want, just as if you had a piece of paper in front of you and were just rotating it around and moving it. So it's very fun.
That's really cool.
Yeah, little tips, little custom workspace tips. Jan says, do the custom workspaces sync to the cloud across computers? When I use Photoshop on a different system, even if I log in, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that it transfers. I typically have to set it up. But I think you can save a workspace. And that may transfer. I don't actually save workspaces. Honestly, whenever I'm working on a new system, or if I update my Photoshop or whatever, I just go set it up and just leave it in that particular workspace constantly, because I never change. I think a lot of people who save workspaces probably are people who are doing so many different things in Photoshop that they want a different workspace, like a workspace for illustration and painting, a workspace for graphic work, a workspace for animation, and maybe flip through for that. But I just edit it once and leave it like that always. So I don't really need to do that personally, but you can if you like. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like Stephen Booth's got his cat on his keyboard.
You might know this, Val.
Oh, yeah.
When you're using the circle ellipse tool, how do you make it so you're making it from like your expanding point is from the center rather than the side?
So you want to hold shift to constrain the proportion so it's a perfect circle, and then also hold alt.
Alt, okay. So whoop.
Boom, boom. And then you can also, so you're holding shift to constrain the proportions, you're holding alt to make sure that you're shrinking and expanding from the center. You can also reach over with a thumb and hold the space bar, and then you can move it around.
Oh,
so you can place
I'm learning things.
Yeah, so you can totally place it how you want to. I do both photo editing and digital painting, says Jan. Yes, indeed. And for you, maybe that would be a great thing to be able to do, is just to, have a workspace for each of them that you can just go up. I believe if you just like go to window and workspace, you can make your own workspaces and then save them there and just go change them. That spacebar hotkey is a lifesaver for that.
Lightsaber?
It's a lightsaber for that. Listen, I accept no responsibility for the weird slip I just made. I think you all are not surprised at all, and I will not be shamed. I will not be made fun of for my strange Star Wars slips, because you should have been prepared for this, honestly. Also, it's my birthday, and I accept no responsibility for like an overabundance of Star Wars jokes I may or may not make. So this is the one day where it's chill. I think. I hope Gus isn't sitting at his computer like, no, it's not. No. Sorry, Gus. That is not how the rules work. Val, don't do that. Ron Salas says, saving spaces is great, even if you only use one, because I always inadvertently change a panel, close a panel, so I can just go reset my workspace and get back into my comfy zone. That is an excellent take on that. I agree. And specifically because you said that, I might actually do that now, because I always use the same workspace, so I never really felt like I needed to change anything. But I am also a very clumsy person, and my lack of coordination also extends to closing stuff that's very important in Photoshop all the time.
Yep.
So having my personal workspace saved would probably benefit me greatly, and maybe I will do that. Also, just to kind of check in here on your process, because we've been chit-chatting a lot, you have been kind of setting up this shape in the background, like framing this whole piece. What are your plans for that, Codi?
So I kind of, since I have the sketch with this little like half dome kind of arch shape framing everything, I just kind of wanted to give here, let's pull up. I lowered the opacity of, did I lower the opacity? I didn't lower the opacity. It's full opacity right now. So if I just get rid of the sketch, it's very subtle. I might make it a little bit darker. But as I'm working, because I work with this texture, I like to sometimes change the background color because it really affects the look of the illustration when the background color that's showing through in the texture is different. So a lot of the time I'll try to change the background color right off the bat because it really changes the atmosphere. And it also changes what colors I would use, because like, let's say if I did let's just go up to hue and saturation. Let's make the background a little darker or something. Because if the background's darker or more saturated, for instance, that's really going to change what colors that I'm using, because it'll really affect the values.
Yeah.
So like if the background is darker, I might need to use colors that are a little bit lighter, for instance.
Because you definitely lose those details on the shoe with this particular value.
Yeah, exactly. See, right here, we have a contrast issue. So in that case, I would need to probably lighten up this cream color here on the shoe to be able to have that, get that contrast back.
I think this is a really excellent, perfect example for those of you who might have been a little unsure as to why it was important for Codi to be checking her values. Because I feel like sometimes we say like, do this to check your values, but if you really don't understand the importance or never experienced like the need for changing, or maybe you know sometimes your pieces look a little bit muddy and you're not exactly sure why that is, this is it right here, is like checking to see, like they're definitely different colors in a color palette, but those are so close together right there that even though they're different colors, the eye kind of loses it. And so checking the values in this situation is an excellent idea, so that you can look at it and be like, okay, this either needs to be darker or this needs to be lighter or whatever, and you can really ensure that your piece is not losing details, becoming muddy, and obscuring the work that you're putting into it, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Like once your eyes can kind of, if you're having a contrast issue, usually your eyes will kind of get like this weird vibraty feeling when you're looking in between the two colors. And I'm kind of getting that feeling between this background color here and the shoe color. So let's like, we could just on the fly fix that. So if you guys run into this issue, let's go to that cream color layer. I'm going to color pick that cream color, so I have it on my brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to lighten it and maybe desaturate it a little bit. And then since the layer is locked, I lock the transparency. You can press this button here to lock the transparency. So that allows me to paint within the shape without going outside of it. So I can just change the color on the fly really quick like this.
Ooh, boom.
Boom. Now we have, let's turn on our black and white layer again. See, now we have a lot more contrast there.
Yeah, and so you've left it you've left the like the ankle and the shoe ties the other colors, so we can really see like the difference. And honestly, to be perfectly frank, like that's not a huge difference in the color at all, really. But just having that, you know, that slight desaturation and that just like subtle raise to a lighter value really made a serious difference, because now when people look at this, they're going to see those shoes. Whereas right now where you're zoomed out, I can barely see the ties of that shoe against that value. So this is really great. Leah Jackson, welcome in. Thank you so much. Welcome in. It's so good to see you. Happy to have you here. Lee, thank you for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Good to see you, Lee. I it's always a great day when Lee or Carol are in the chat, because we don't get to see them as often, I think. So it's really neat to be able to have you in here, Lee. I don't know if Carol, if you're still in here, but it was really great to see you in the chat earlier too. Thank you for joining us. Sam and Gus are great. You know, we love Sam and Gus, but they're not as rare. They're not as ultra rare as Lee and Carol. So I always get like, ooh, Carol's here.
They're here.
Lee's here. What? Irina, welcome in. Dee, welcome. It's good to see you folks. Work deadlines made me late. No worries, Leah. There's always going to be a replay. Feel free to ask any questions. Also, I want to make sure I say something real quick, because this is something that I see all the time. And I know that you've probably seen it too, Cody, and a lot of people in the chat probably see it. People arrive late and they are terrified to ask questions just in case somebody has already asked them. Please ask us whatever you want.
Yeah.
Please do. If you didn't show up at the very beginning of the stream, you're not the only one. Not everybody can be here right, at showtime. And if you have any questions that you're really hoping to get answers to, I could not care less if somebody has already asked the question. I will happily reiterate something and offer advice. And I know that Cody will too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Please, even if you showed up late, if you've got some burning questions that you really want support on, please put it in the chat. Let us help you out. Singing happy birthday. I don't know if you folks are, I know that you're familiar with Boyfruit, Cody.
Yes.
I know Sam Peterson is familiar with Boyfruit. There's a lot of people who probably know about Boyfruit. He's a wonderful, incredibly talented artist, and just all around super nice dude. Every year on my birthday, he says snappy burp day to me. And it's never left my brain since the very first time he said that. Snappy burp day. And I've adopted it as my own now. And it's not going away. What are we making? So today we are working on some California inspired art that we're going to be posting to help raise awareness for the wildfires that are going on currently. This is a really excellent way for people to kind of get involved in the raising awareness for everything in a manner that doesn't necessarily cost money. If you are able to, if you're willing and able, donating to these causes, I put some links in the wildfire resources pack, which you can download below the video player. If you click that link, there's some really great places where you can go and donate either money or donated items and things to help those affected by some of the really powerful wildfires that are going on in Northern California and in Southern California right now. But if you're like me, and I have been in a situation where I really, really wanted to help kind of support a cause, and I just wasn't able to financially contribute. I've been in that situation before, and I just wanted to kind of see if we could put together something that helps people to participate and spread the word and support stuff without having to give money, because it's not possible for everybody. So we are creating artwork, which we will post maybe with some helpful links, or support other people today in the chat who are going to be creating wildfire awareness art, who are going to be retweet those to spread the word and help inspire other people who maybe are capable of supporting in that way with visual positivity and creativity. So I'm really pumped about it. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about the files that you have kind of provided for us today, Cody, and your project, because I think people would really like to download it and check it out. So what are you working on?
Yeah, so we wanted to do some artwork that really represented the beauty of California and just the sights, the nature, just everything beautiful about California. I am personally originally from California. I'm originally from Orange County. Here, let me turn off my colors and bring up the sketch so you guys can see it a little better. There we go. So I chose a few different beautiful sites around California and kind of just created a little medley in the background. And I also I did the sketch ahead of time so I could give you guys a coloring book page. I inked a coloring book page and it's on 8.5 by 11. So if you guys want to print it out, it'll print perfectly on a piece of photocopy paper. Or you can bring in, I have another version on a square canvas if you want to bring it into Photoshop, or you do either way. So if you want to color along with us, grab some crayons or colored pencils and just hang out and have a good time and make some beautiful art together.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I love this sketch so much. I think it's really great. And yeah, if you would like to help us spread the word, help us inspire other people to either create some art that can get the word out there, that can lead to more support for those who are affected by these fires, people, animals, everyone that is kind of involved in this, or kind of reach out to other artists or anyone who might be interested in just kind of creating to keep it on folks, people's minds, and keep it important. This is a great opportunity. I'm really pumped with what you're working on, and I'm excited for tomorrow as well. So Codi is with me today. We're doing some illustration. Tomorrow I'm going to be joined by the one and only super famous, super popular Paco. And we're going to be working on some photography and also some like graphic illustration. I would say it's kind of a mixture of the two, which I'm very excited to be able to work on. So we're going to be doing some different kinds of art for today and tomorrow, just to kind of inspire all of you folks. No matter what kind of art you do, you don't necessarily have to illustrate or whatever. Just anything that you feel like doing, make something inspired by California, or help support and retweet or repost other artists who maybe are doing California artwork, and spread the word in a positive way. I also see some questions in chat, some technical questions. Jan Eric was saying, what was the correct proof setup for mode for checking values? So you were talking earlier about checking the values and stuff within work, and I was thinking, because we were just talking about Stevie Ray Drawn, Stevie Ray Drawn showed me how to check values in Photoshop in 2015, and I have never forgotten, and it's really, really cool. I don't know if you want to be my my demoer again, but if you go to window and then go to not window, view, sorry, proof setup, which is at the very top, and then go to custom, and you want to set that device to simulate to working.gain 20%, which is at the top there. It will, there we go.
This one.
Yeah, that one. So it puts it into that mode. You can just hit OK. And now you can actually hit Control Y. Control Y, and it will toggle in and out of values. And not only that, when you're in this mode, like when it's actually black and white, you are still painting in color, right? So you can kind of test, like you could sample the red and paint with that red while you're in the value mode.
There we go. Yeah, you can see the coloring is still picking up the proper color. And you can test the colors right next to each other, and then toggle right back to color, just to kind of continue on your way. So that's how I do it. But a lot of people also do it the way that you showed, with the layer, because people like to just be able to remove it completely. Also, some people have something routed to Control Y already, and it kind of throws a wrench, so that it's literally about it's a matter of preference and what works for you personally. But for Jan and maybe anyone else who is interested, that is an alternative method of checking values that I have been using for years, and I have never forgotten Stevie Ray for it, because oh my gosh, she changed my life. And any opportunity, I think she changed Sam Peterson's life with that too, because if I remember correctly, for a while there was an actual video, like a clip on Twitch of Sam setting it up, because so many people were coming to the Adobe Twitch channel asking, how the heck do you do the values thing? Oh, I love that.
And after a while, Sam was like, here's a clip of me doing it. Here it is. So it's really fun, and it's very, very quick and easy and useful. You're welcome, Jan. Happy to help. Yes, everyone tune in for day 2 as well. Going to be a grand old time. Yes, indeed, Paco. I'm very excited. I'm going to use this forever. Oh my God, that's an amazing trick. Yeah, Panda, it's literally like one of the coolest tricks that I have ever learned. I would love to know, everyone in the chat, what is a Photoshop tip or trick or pro tip, something like that you have learned that has literally changed the way you design? Like, do you have anything that you would like to share? Just something that really has blown your mind so much that you're just like, how was I doing anything before this? For me, I would say in the top running is that values trick. That was just like, I don't know how I was, because for me, like when I'm designing, I was doing the layer. And like I said, for a lot of people that works for their process, when I'm working, I'm very impatient. Like
so am I.
I'm so impatient, and like when I have to toggle it on and off, I just get really frustrated. So being able to reach for a hotkey is better for me personally.
Yeah.
That's why I honestly, like, I think we use layers the same way too, which is like, I don't use layers strategically. I use layers when I've made a stroke that I don't want to ruin.
Yeah,
like,
no, exactly. That's what I do.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Make a new layer so you don't destroy this, Val. And that's all. Like, I also have no patience to name them unless I am streaming on Adobe Live or I know I'm going to share my file. And even sometimes when I'm on Adobe Live, I don't name them till later. And honestly, I think that's fine. I think if you go back through and you clean up your layers later, that's fine, as long as you take the time to organize it, because you will thank yourself later if you organize it afterwards. So you're not working on client, projects or whatever, and you have to come back and like try to decipher the alien language and organization method that you used.
Speaking from experience.
Yes, 100%. But I am super impatient, especially when I feel like I'm on a roll. Like I don't want to toggle the layer on and off. So that was the best one for me that really helps me. But I would love to know anything. Do you have any like little pro tips maybe that really are like serious game changers for you that you cannot live without, Codi?
For me, it was definitely learning clipping masks, learning and lock transparency. They're kind of similar. I use both of those for every single painting that I do, and also learning how to rotate the canvas. You rotate your canvas, if for those of you that don't know, with the R key on the keyboard, R for rotate. And then also you can press escape and bring it back upright really fast.
I think you can also hold shift to get it to snap so that it's like perfectly
snaps to angles.
So that if you really want to turn it on its side or you want to turn it perfectly upside down, you can do that. That is a great one. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a good one. Anybody else in the chat? I'd love to know, because I might learn something from you folks, and somebody in chat might see what you guys post and just be like, wow, I never thought about that. So this is a great, I feel like that happens to me all the time. And it's so funny because like me and you both, we have the wonderful opportunity to like jump on Adobe Live and stream and help folks out creatively and teach and all that good stuff. But like not a day goes by that I don't learn something from you folks in chat.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like I just taking in a new perspective, learning about a unique way of using a tool I've been using forever, or learning to use a tool that I never thought about, really being important for my personal workflow until somebody explains it to me. So throw that knowledge in the chat. Teach us something,
I used to not even use keyboard shortcuts until it took my Twitch viewers, I think, about 3 years to convince me to finally every day they convinced me to finally use keyboard shortcuts, because I used to do it the slow way. I used to go through the menus and everything, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll learn keyboard shortcuts.
Honestly, I think learning the keyboard shortcuts like cut my production time in half. Just like the amount of time that I was not spending going into drop down menus and hunting for things, especially like, because this is the thing when it comes to shortcuts versus looking for stuff in the menus. It's not just opening a menu and grabbing what you were looking for. The reality of getting every single thing, through a menu system in Photoshop is that you don't just open up the tab and go straight to it. Most of the time I open up the tab, I'm like, oh, it's not in here.
Yeah.
Oh crap, it's not in here either. Which one was it in? And then I go in and I'm like, ooh, is that it? And then I finally get to it and I click the wrong one. And then I have to open it up again and navigate all the way back with all the different drop downs and find it. And after 3 minutes has gone by, I finally, switched it to, found my hue and saturation sliders. And it's so much easier just to do Control U.
Yep.
And just open it up. It really is a game changer. And it can be a little daunting and stressful to learn them. But I tell people the best way to kind of get comfortable with hotkeys and to start really implementing them into your workflow is to think to yourself, take a few moments and think, what are my most used tools? If you're an illustrator, I imagine it's probably going to be the brush tool, the eraser tool, maybe the lasso selection tool, maybe the paint bucket tool, things like that. Maybe you're going to need to rotate your canvas. Maybe you're going to need to flip your canvas, which you can set a shortcut for. You can actually set keyboard shortcuts for almost anything in Photoshop, custom, which is really cool. And think to yourself, what are the things that I use the most, and get 5 to 10 hotkeys together for those favorite things, and keep them someplace where you can look at them while you're sitting working. You can paste it to the wall, if you have a wall behind your monitor. I did for some time, and that's where I put it. All my notes is I just stuck it right above my monitor on the wall. You can stick it to the edge of your monitor with a sticky note. You can just have a notebook open on your desk, whatever it is, where you can glance over. And every time I wanted to switch to the brush, I was like, what is the brush hotkey? Okay, B. And I just did it, and I kept doing that till I memorized what was most important to me. Then those main core shortcuts become second nature because you're using them constantly. When you only have just a handful maybe that you're learning, it's not really that hard. And then as you start to become more comfortable with Photoshop or whatever app you're using, as you start to maybe expand the breadth of the tools you're using, it becomes really easy to just add one more at a time as you go, instead of like, don't try to learn a couple hundred shortcuts at a time. Just learn at your own pace and learn what is best for you.
Yeah, not only that, a couple hundred, you might not even need all of those shortcuts either. You might not even need to learn all of those necessarily, depending on what you're doing. Like, for instance, for me personally, my workflow is pretty simplistic. For the majority of the time, I'm on the brush tool or I'm on the eraser. So there's just like a handful of shortcuts that I use on a daily basis. I don't necessarily need to put that pressure on myself to feel like I need to learn everything there is to know about Photoshop.
Yeah, and honestly, your workspace that we were talking about before really goes into what you actually need to learn as far as shortcuts, because honestly, you've got your hue and saturation sliders right there. You don't really need Control U. You don't really need to open up your sliders. I don't have mine showing because I use the big color picker on mine, so I don't have that showing up there on my color palette. I've got a different setup for mine, so I do need to pull up the hue and saturation panel. You can customize your workspace and also curate the list of shortcuts that you'd like to know to make your workflow as quick and seamless and comfortable as possible. And I think truly, when I first started really thinking about how I was going to improve in that way, as far as getting more comfortable with the program and trying to learn these things, I was really it was a little bit daunting, but I'm telling you, when you start to work on putting some thought into your workspace, work on memorizing the core shortcuts that you need, all of a sudden Photoshop doesn't really seem so scary, because there's a lot of stuff in there, but you get those things down, and then you're not worried about using Photoshop. Yeah. Your main focus is creation, because you're not lost in the program. And it's especially important for people who are beginners or people who are totally unfamiliar with Photoshop, is not feeling overwhelmed by the breadth of the program. And that is how you can curb that 100%. Jim Henderson's sharing some really great hotkeys. F5 brings up brush options, and F6 brings up color picker. F7 brings up layers palette. Oh, I didn't know the brush options. That's great for me, because I edit brush settings constantly. Like in middle, I will be painting and be like, you know what, I need some more butter in this brush. And I'll just open up the brush palette and like edit it real quick and just save a secondary version of it that I can come back to. And then I have like, I'll save it as like the exact same, but like butter 1, butter 2, butter 3. And it's just like slowly getting smoother and like more like frosting. I'm just Martha Stewarding the heck out of all of the brushes I download gradually. Let's see.
By the way, for those of you that aren't familiar with the California state flag, I know I do draw a lot of bears, but I did a bear on purpose because the California state flag actually has a bear on it.
Yes. This is literally a perfect stream for you, Cody. This is perfect. Codi Bear. This is Cali Bear day.
Cali Bear. Yep.
Honestly. What keyboard combination did you assign to view flip horizontal? You can assign your own keyboard shortcuts if you go to I believe it's edit and scroll down to keyboard shortcuts. You're able to open up whatever you want. Oh, thanks, Cody. You're able to open up, whatever you want in the program. If you go to image, I believe you should be able to scroll down to flip horizontal or flip vertical. I have my flip horizontal routed to Control-Shift-A because I will never forget it. It's right beside Control-Shift-S, which is save. And if I mispress, it's just going to save my file. So it's not like a very dangerous one. One of the things I also highly recommend people doing so that they don't just feel like crawling in a hole and never leaving it is remove the hotkey for auto close document. Because it's Control W. And if you don't save your work and you accidentally hit Control W,
I didn't even know that.
And you don't think about it, you just because the little window pops up. You want to save first? Sometimes you don't know what Control W does, and you see a little pop-up come up, and you're in the zone. And you're like, "Get this the heck off my screen!" And you just hit OK. You know what happens? The last 3 hours that you've been working that you didn't save, you just told Photoshop to quit your file and do not save because you don't care. And then you cry. You try not to cry, and then you cry very hard. I have done that so many times in the past where I hit Control W and I'm like, why is there a pop-up? And I just hit enter. And then it just closes it. And it's like, you said, okay, please close this. And no, I do not want to save. And it drives me absolutely bonkers. So if you would like to save yourself a little bit of heartache and a little bit of pain and existential dread, and crisis of the mind, remove the keyboard shortcut for auto close document.
Speaking of saving yourself, everyone, don't forget to save your work. Let's save, shall we?
Everyone, save together now. All together now. Laura says, does Photoshop have an option for cloud docs and autosave? If you Control-Shift-S, it will, that's Control-Shift-S is the shortcut for save as. And when it opens up, you can see, you can either save it on your computer or you can hit that button underneath there that says save to cloud documents. So it's like an either or. So you can either save directly to your computer or you can save to your Creative Cloud, just with Control-Shift-S. Which is why I love like doing Control-Shift-A for flip my canvas. I'm never going to forget it because Control-Shift-S is like the one thing that is like hammered, like autosave and undo. I feel like are the two most known hotkeys. Everybody, for the most part, those are some of the first one that if you don't know it, that's one of the first ones that you will learn. So I will never forget flip horizontal. And then if I accidentally click wrong, like I said, all I do is save by accident, and it just pulls up my panel asking me to save. And I always save to my cloud documents. I save every time, and then when I shut down a document for the day, I save a hard copy to my archive on my computer. So that's typically how I do that.
I actually didn't know that you could set a specific hotkey to flip horizontal because I always thought that you had to record an action. That's how I did it.
Really?
Yeah, I did not realize
I've never recorded an action for that.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah, you can go in and just set it to whatever. You can do just a single short hotkey button, or you can do a combination like I have, and you can set it to flip vertical or horizontal at the touch of a button or two. And it's really, really useful because, like I said, if you're anything like me, you're incredibly impatient when you are on a roll. And you want to be able to save, change tools, flip your canvas, make a new layer, all that stuff. You want to be able to do that on the fly, because you don't want to take those extra moments when you like are trying to like execute like a cool idea or whatever. You want to just be able to dive into it. And so having that routed to a hotkey really it saves lives. It does.
Yeah, I actually use my express keys a lot on my tablet, and I have flip horizontal on my express key. I just did it I just saved it as an action. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. I don't think I've ever heard of people doing it as actions. I just assumed that everybody who was doing it had a hotkey routed, but that's really interesting. So I guess, if you're somebody that's more comfortable working with actions, I don't typically work with actions at all. I've used some actions and stuff for particular projects when I have like batches of photos and I want to do the same thing to it in a certain template in Photoshop. Yeah. I've done that before, but it's not something that I find myself doing all the time, and I'm less comfortable using them. But if there's anybody in chat who is like a Photoshop action kind of person, this might be a really great alternative for you that kind of fits in much better with your personal workflow. So try it out. He's starting to look so fabulous, by the way. I mean, he's been looking fly this whole time. Don't get me wrong. But now he's got his little arms in there. He's got
arms.
He's got arms. He is almost a complete person now. Now he just like needs a head and a face. Maybe. I mean, you don't have to have a head or arms to be a bear, do you? If you're a bear in your heart, I think you could be a bear.
Yeah, of course.
I would prefer a face, but who am I to judge? I don't know where I'm going with that, but anyways, this is starting to look really, really great. And I love that you're like testing out some different values for his fur and stuff too, which just looks so cool. And I also love that he has the glasses, and I've been actually very specifically looking at like how wide the bridge of his glasses are so they can fit around his bear snout, and I'm living for it, just so you know. Because that definitely is going to fit on him, and his eyes are so cute but far apart, and he definitely needs specialty glasses for this. Yes. And I love that you've given him that.
They're custom. Yeah.
Thank you for the custom bear glasses. Question to Cody: is it possible to have the bear wear AirPods Pro? I don't know that I would recommend him wearing AirPods in the woods, but it's up to you, Cody.
That's true. I've actually never drawn AirPods, to be completely honest. And I don't know, I'm trying to visualize it. If with the glasses, I don't know if it would look like maybe he's just got something stuck in his ear.
Yeah, I was thinking like, how would that work like compositionally? And I think they would just be like sitting on his little ear holes on top of his head and just make him look like he has little bug antennas or something, just like, so I think that you'd have to really finesse that if you chose to do that. But maybe in a different, piece where you didn't have the glasses, so there wasn't anything to distract in that area, that could be a really cute thing to try.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like with the glasses, it might just be like a little bit busy and confusing, but I think if you planned ahead, you might be able to finesse that in there.
We got a dad pun master,
of course,
in the chat. Motive Void coming in clutch with the Bear Pods Pro. Stop.
Always with the bear puns.
That one like brought me joy and just exhaustion at the same time.
Was not expecting that at all.
Bear Pods Pro. I feel like that's probably what a good pun or a dad joke is supposed to do in all actuality, though. Like because when you hear a dad joke or you hear a pun, you're not supposed to be like, wow, that was great. I am only happy right now. You're supposed to be like, wow, that was good, but I'm in pain. That's like the goal, I think.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I've been doing puns and dad jokes wrong this whole time, but I think they're supposed to like simultaneously encourage and discourage the person who hears it.
Yes, of course.
All right. Also, just to let everybody know, got about 25 minutes left.
No
of the
way.
stream.
Oh my gosh,
I can't
the
believe
stream
it.
went by so fast.
Super extra fast, which is like wild to me. But if you folks are just tuning in, or maybe we're here at the beginning, or while we've done these announcements, today is a very special day, and tomorrow it will also be a very special day, because we are not just drawing super adorable animals in California nature scenes. We are designing to raise awareness for the wildfires happening in California right now. I have put together a file, and so has Codi, which you can download using the link below the video player. So you can download this sketch and coloring page that she's working on if you like to color it. You can also check out the wildfire resources that I've put together for you folks in there, and it's got some really awesome information about wildfire safety, wildfire relief information, places where you can donate to disaster relief and get more information, updates on the fires that are happening. But we hope that you folks will join us in creating some art, because not everybody has the opportunity or the luxury to be able to donate when it comes to causes like this. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who would if they could, but it's just not really feasible for them personally right now. So this is a really excellent opportunity to come together and use creativity to spread the word, get the word out to people who maybe are in a position where they could do that. And I think it's just as valuable, just, you know, putting some time into creating something that can kind of raise awareness and bring it to the attention of other people. So feel free, download the coloring page, do some coloring. We're going to have some other different art mediums coming in tomorrow. We're going to be working on some photography and some more illustration and graphic work pertaining to the cause as well. So you guys can pretty much design whatever you want if you would like. And if you don't have the time, make some friends in chat. Or follow me or Codi to get updates when we finish these pieces. And you can just retweet the wildfire awareness work that other people have done, and just kind of come together as a community and spread the word and keep it on people's minds. You know, there's a lot of really cool ways that we can come together to support those who are affected by these disasters in a way that doesn't necessarily cost money, especially because times have been tough lately. And it's not a possibility for everybody. But if you like to contribute, there are ways that you could do that. So check out the links, check out the coloring page, check out this super cool group of baby trees that Codi is sketching right now, and hang out. Have a good time.
Baby trees.
Baby trees. They are, I mean, you are scribbling, legit.
Oh,
like
yeah.
You are just scribbling, but I
yeah.
see individual trees. I do.
It's kind of like scribbling with a purpose.
Impressionism.
Like, yeah,
sort of,
yeah,
you know?
kind of like, so I mean, we all kind of know like that very like typical like Christmas tree shape, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it has like little branches that come out like this. So I'm kind of doing that, but in a more abstract way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
they definitely look like unique little trees
like
too.
Small
like,
little hand gestures, and just kind of like making sure they all have a point. That's really important too.
And like a general arrow shape.
Yeah, exactly. Like that, giving it that triangle silhouette. Yeah. Really, just your brain just is like, oh, that's a tree.
I 100% see trees. And you are scribbling with style right now, and it is. I'm living for it. I think that's honestly something that, you know, even if you're not an illustrator or painter, this is something that is like a really helpful exercise. It's just like creating subtle shapes and breaking something down to its core form. What makes a tree? You just said it perfectly. Kind of a triangle shape. Everything is pointed. You know, it's just, yeah, there you go. And that can help with doing graphic design. That can help with icon logo design. That can help with so many different kinds of designs when it comes to like user experience and what people perceive as a thing. And it's just like, I think like there's a lot of lessons to be learned for creatives from all different disciplines when it comes to giving the impression of something from reality.
Definitely.
because again, these are scribbles that you just stacked 3 triangles on top of each other for a demo just then, and they're Christmas trees or pine trees. They're redwoods. They are trees, but they're not. But that's what my brain tells me they are, you know? And if you can master, I think, like how to break something down to its core form and what is the bare minimum amount of information that a person, oh gosh. Again, I'm thrilled at that joke because it's good, but I'm in pain. That's perfect dad joke, perfect pun. Thank you, Cody. I think that once you can break down, an idea, a concept to the bare minimum amount of shapes and strokes or whatever, you can learn how to better communicate with an audience. You know, you can learn how to better express your creative concepts to the world, and to a broader and wider demographic of people as well. Learning how people in other countries and other parts of the world actually express certain concepts. Another great way to figure out how people interpret certain shapes and what they mean is to look at road signs in different countries. That's a great one.
Yeah, that is a really good idea, actually. Yeah, just your, I really loved your point about just like icons for like UI UX, for instance. I mean, it's so simplistic. You can't put a ton of details, like let's say on a button for an app or something like that. But like, let's say you wanted an icon for a tree, for a nature app or something, you know, you can just break it down super simple for the silhouette. And bam, you have a tree.
And you need that icon to make a statement. It's, you know, like for example, when you are in an app and you see an icon that looks like a mechanical gear, what do you think?
Settings.
Like, settings. Yep. And that gear kind of translates in the mind to settings, but that is so much more than just the word settings. When you think, oh, here's the settings, you're thinking account information, account verification, contact information, you know, color mode, all these different things that your app would have. That's what kind of like you get like a wash of information. That's what that means. You look at that gear and you think of like all these different things in the list that should be there. Whereas if you try to use like a circle with a question mark in it for settings, it's like that's where people would maybe think that's a help button. It doesn't say the same thing. So you probably want to use a gear or something similar when it comes to that. And I think the same thing is true when you're doing illustration, graphic design, whatever it is, when you're trying to convey a message with one image, even if it's a more detailed image, paying attention to the imagery that you're using, and making sure, especially at a distance, because you're kind of doing a lot of perspective here with like foreground, midground, and background, and showing a depth. You are really putting effort into this, like somebody who designs icons for UI UX would, to making sure that even at a distance, people understand what you're doing.
Yep.
It's all the same stuff.
Very cool.
Ron Salas is saying happy little trees. I agree. Jan Eric says, question to Cody, is the bear taking a selfie or is he taking a photo of the vista before him?
The vista before him. I realized afterwards that it kind of looks like he's taking a selfie, but I was like, okay, this is the first time I've ever actually drawn this pose, like with a character holding a camera out like this. So it took me quite a while and a lot of mistakes, let me tell you.
Honestly, I think you've done a really good job of conveying it, because you have the little dot on the outside of the phone, which to me means front, like back facing camera. Yeah. And then you have those little action marks right there, which kind of goes into what we were just talking about. You have those 3 action marks that make it so that something is happening away from the character, where if you were to put those marks on the other side, it would look like something is coming at the character.
On the inside. Yeah.
So if you did that, it would be like, you know, camera flash at his face, he's taking a picture. But with those on the outside, it's saying camera flash away from him, he is looking at something and interacting with something on the other side of the camera. Fun fact, the Mac OS command icon was derived in part from its use in Nordic countries as an indicator of cultural locations and places of interest. That's very cool.
That's so interesting.
Jan Eric. Wow. There's a lot of really cool, I would say, icon lore in the world. Just like, why do we associate certain shapes and things with what we associate them with. There's a lot of really interesting psychology behind certain things. So I always love to hear little tidbits of information like that. Cody and Moat together is dangerous. I'm waiting for the next pun now. I am sort of waiting for it. I'm just hoping it doesn't hurt me because puns are dangerous. Very dangerous. Such a revealing exercise. I agree, Biola. I agree. Looking at countries' road signs can be really cool. Looking at countries' road signs and looking at different signs directing people like in a subway or something, or looking at different signs in just like public spaces that direct you to places, showing like your location and the map of a shopping mall in different countries, and like just looking at what different cultures consider to be an appropriate expression of a concept is very interesting. Love the eject symbol so much, so I have it next to my user. Yeah, I the eject symbol I think is pretty universal.
Yeah.
Just like an X for exit. Like I'm pretty sure a lot of people do that in like apps. You know, that's it. Getting into some mountain painting now. I am loving it.
I also love like a lot of websites still use this icon. The save icon a lot of the time will show up as a floppy disk, whereas whereas a lot of younger people probably don't even know what a floppy disk is. But I think it's really funny.
I've encountered people even that don't know what a VHS tape is, and it makes me feel old. I feel old. So, and I'm 29, not that old, but I do encounter people who are like, you mean a DVD? And I'm like, no, I don't mean a DVD. I do not mean that. I mean a VHS. And I think I just saw somebody post on Twitter earlier today that they were playing like Silent Hill for PS2, I think. And they had their PS2 plugged into one of those. You guys remember those TVs that had a VCR built into it? It's like a little tiny box TV that just had like a place where you could put a VHS into it right there.
Yeah.
When you plugged your
like
consoles
a
in
CRT,
with like the
CRT TV.
Oh man. I was looking at that. I was like, oh, that is my childhood right there. And there's so many comments on it. I was like, what is this that you're playing on? Is this what kind of monitor is this? And I'm like,
what is this? That's hilarious.
That's when I look like that guy in that GIF meme where he's just like, what? And I'm like, is the problem me or them? I think it's probably me. You know, I'm old and I don't like change and I miss things, but the floppy disk is also one of those things because I use floppies. I think actually, hold on, I gotta look this up again. It might have actually been with you that we looked this up. Somebody recently, we were like trying to explain to folks in chat who don't know what a floppy disk is what it is. It is it's like our CDs or our flash drives or whatever today. It's just a method of holding information.
Right.
And back in the day with older computers, you would buy a program and it would come on a series of floppy disks. And you could buy blank floppy disks and you could put information onto them, like, you know, in the 90s, early 2000s, you burn a CD, you know, and throw information on it, whereas now you have like a flash drive or you have an external hard drive where you upload to the cloud or whatever. It just kind of evolves with each decade, I think. But floppies are really, really small. And I would love to look up real quick floppy disk space, just so you can see how much space floppy disks. The capacity of 800 kilobytes to 2.8 megabytes with a standard of 1.44 megabytes of space. And that was a big deal. Now we have, like, you download a new video game and it's like 109 gigs and 1.44 megabytes.
Oh my goodness.
Megabits, however you say it, potato. That was like the big deal back then. And I remember using floppy disks on my little Mac, and that was oof. It was pretty crazy. So That was my childhood. And a lot of people's childhoods before me. And I will fight tooth and nail for VCR love and floppy disk love. And I think it's great that it's still the save file. The save icon. It is. I think that was like one of my like emote, like that's a common emote on Twitch, right?
Yeah,
that people actually still do the floppy save for Twitch emotes right now. I would love to know if anybody in chat has any icons that they realize are like an obsolete item that still means a thing. Let's see. Jan Eric says, I installed the original software version of Doom from a floppy disk that came with a PC Gamer magazine. Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes. Oh man. Yeah, Gareth Williams 1.44. Wait, what? Codi Bear is a real person? My whole life is a lie. I know. I thought she was a bear for a long time. I thought she was a bear for many, many years. But she's not. She just has the heart of an adorable bear. I think that's the thing here. Remember back in the day when floppy disks were actually floppy? Yes, they were.
Yep.
Deja vu about this floppy disk type. Yeah, because we just were talking about it. But it's something I love to do.
It's funny how I'm pretty sure that happened on our last stream together on Adobe Live. For some reason we got on that conversation again.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember how it came up last time, but now it's my new favorite thing to just like shock and awe people. You know how like when we were kids, our grandparents would tell us like stories about crazy things like, you know, back in my day, we didn't have X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. You know, now I'm like, I like to talk to, you know, 13-year-olds with iPhones to be like, back in my day, we only had, you know, less than 2 MB space on our floppy disks, and that was all we got. Yep. That's all we had. We didn't have text messaging or smartphones. We had to have an answering machine hooked up. Couldn't bring it with you. You had to wait till you got home to check your messages. Oh, thanks, Sam, for posting the links. I appreciate it. So one of the things I want to call attention to, kind of jump back into your process here, Codi, is you have a tendency, and I think I believe it's deliberate, of just like whatever you are coloring in, you do go with like a smaller brush. You don't really block in like these gigantic shapes when it comes to doing the details. You go with a smaller brush and you add in all this beautiful texture, and it looks like you're very directionally conscious of how you're using that brush so as to add almost a very particular texture to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Can you maybe talk about your thought process behind that for a little bit?
Yeah. So especially with this mountain, if you guys have been kind of watching what I've been doing, for the most part, this texture that I've been painting in is pretty much been directionally vertical, for the most part, at least. And the reason I did that here, I'll get rid of the layer for a second so you can see, is that I'm going to go back and also add these kind of like rock details on top. So that way, the texture and the details are all kind of going in the same direction. So visually you can see, okay, this big piece of color here is a vertically flat like construction. And because I don't add a lot of depth in terms of like shading, I feel like adding that texture to kind of like help your eye just like give that construction helps give it structure.
More impressionism, if you know, honestly, it's just like kind of, you know, you don't have to really do it to show people's brains that that's how they should think about it, you know. So you've given that texture, and honestly, like when I'm looking at this, the texture makes me see more of a mountain than there may actually be,
right?
If that makes sense. So that's really awesome. Somebody, Bliss, is saying kids today will never get the full satisfaction of slamming a phone or causing a click at a hang up. This is true. There's not a lot of things more satisfying than picking up a phone and then just it's definitely, especially if you're angry. I don't condone the hanging up of phones when you're angry. Communication skills, you know, but it is in the rare case that it's necessary. Hanging up a landline is very satisfying, but not a lot of people have landlines anymore. I think maybe businesses now are some of the only places that have it.
Yeah.
I think my grandma has a landline, but I think that's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, K Beer says my job including transporting a floppy disk to a font house to print out gallery type for a catalog company.
Huh.
Wow. How many fonts fit on one floppy disk? I gotta know. Can't you fit a whole typeface on
it's
a
half
floppy
a font.
disk? Half a font. It's 4 letters. I mean, honestly, I'm very curious. Like, how many floppies did it take for one entire font? Like, was it just an image that you're putting on there, or did you have, like, how did that work? I'm very curious to kind of understand the process of this, to be honest. Bliss, I said bye. Click. Bye, Felicia. I have a question. This is a children's book illustration style, right? I would say so. How would you describe the style of your work?
Yeah,
Codi?
I usually describe it as a children, even though I'm not technically published, I do refer to myself as a children's illustrator, because that kind of just, if somebody's never seen my work, that kind of just gives them an idea of maybe like what my work could be. Although you think of children's illustration, I mean, it's not just one single style. I mean, there's tons and tons of different children's illustration styles, but it kind of just like gives somebody an idea of, okay, that's the general idea of maybe the kind of work that she probably does. So yeah, I definitely do refer to my artwork as children's illustration.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. Because I also think that definitely, like, when you like, I think that you would be, because I know you're working on a book of your own right now, but I think that could be excellent client work for you too. Like, that's just like something that you could probably really take a bite out of, so to speak. And I think that when you describe yourself that way, that tells a client exactly what you do. Like, that just covers the bases, you know? Oh, K Beer says very time consuming. I would wait. Did they post? Oh, in 1980. I thought you meant 1,980 floppy disks for a font. I was like, honey, no, no. Okay. Gosh. Listening very carefully to hear the click that tells you your mom has picked up the extension. Ooh, that was it. Yes. So also, for people who don't know, that you could, like, if somebody was on the phone on the landline, you could just pick up another phone in the house and just be on the phone with them. And if you didn't say anything, sometimes they didn't know it. That sucks. Can you imagine being on a cell phone call and somebody just picking up their cell phone in your house, putting it to their ear, and just listening to everything you're saying? That would be an actual nightmare.
No, thank you.
It'd be horrible. Also, we have about 5 minutes left. I can't believe it. I know. This has been an absolute blast. Is there any last minute advice or anything that you would like to leave us with today, Codi? And maybe any last minute short questions that chat has, just in case they didn't get an answer to any of their questions?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I just want you guys to just try not to put too much pressure on yourself. If you're a beginner, you know, please try not to put too much pressure on yourself. I know, especially with social media nowadays, I didn't really grow up with social media when I was doing artwork when I was younger. And I can't imagine how much pressure I would have put on myself if I was constantly seeing so many different pieces of artwork as I do now. And I still, even as a professional artist now, almost 30 years old, I still do that to myself with social media. So you guys that are beginners and still learning, please don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just turn off social media when you're doing artwork. Don't worry about it. You know, just kind of separate yourself from that and try not to get down on yourself if you feel like your skill isn't where it is or where you want it to be at. Just make sure, you know, you learn something new with every single piece that you do. And that's pretty much the best advice that I can give. Just keep doing artwork.
As a great woman once said, just keep swimming.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
Thank you. Also, if anybody has just tuned in, or if anyone's been here but maybe hasn't already, please check out the download link below the video player. You'll be able to pick up Codi's coloring page and the Wildfire resources. pack with some helpful links and information. And also there is a folder that is hidden in that file with some cool images that I just made some silhouettes of, like some trees, some mountains and things that I'm going to try and incorporate into a really cool project for tomorrow. Paco is going to be joining me tomorrow, and we're going to do some photography stuff. And also we're going to choose between some images of his and do kind of a graphic illustration of some Northern California scenery, which I'm very excited about. Super cool to be able to have Paco on, because Paco is always our watcher in the shadows, you know, supporting us all and keeping us going. So tomorrow we get to have him with us, which is going to be really fun. So yeah, take a look at that, download that. Also, please give Codi Bear a follow. And if you would like to kind of create some artwork along with us to raise awareness for the wildfires that are going on in California right now, please feel free to either use some of the resources that we've provided or express yourself any way you want. You know, just make something that, you know, sparks joy within you. I keep saying sparks joy, but Marie Kondo's got it right. She knows what she's doing.
It's so true.
She does. And do some, what we're focusing on is like flora, fauna, landscapes, and the scenery and beauty of California, to raise some awareness, and post it with some links to where people can get involved, can help support those who are affected, and spread positivity across the interwebs, and help some folks out. So yeah. I'm excited to see what you folks come up with. I'm excited to see you all tomorrow. Again, please give Codi Bear a follow. We are going to need to take off. But
everyone give Val a follow, and also tell her happy birthday because it's her birthday. Happy birthday, Val.
Thanks, guys. Honestly, no place I'd rather be on my birthday, to be perfectly honest. This has been a really cool day so far. Thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you, Codi, for being here with me today. It's always a blast. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, of course.
Hippo Birdie Bear Val, snappy birthday.
Hippo Birdie.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. But we do have to go because I hope we don't get cut off. But thank you all everyone for joining us. Thank you, Codi Bear, for hanging out with me today, and we will see you another time.
Thank you, guys. Folks. Bye.